I'm a journalist, and I am here at the 2024 Jeonju International Film Festival for kCrush American Magazine. And today I am joined by filmmaker Junhyung to talk about his short film, A Sucker Punch, which starts out seemingly very innocent. It's about these four friends who are playing a game of mahjong, but it's a game of mahjong with their own rules. Kind of like how we play Uno with our own rules in North America. And I think it's about dating, it's about sexual attraction, but it's also, I think, about jealousy, insecurity, and lies and truths and misdirection. There's a lot of misdirection in the dialogue. So I'm very happy to be joined by Junhyung to talk about the film. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
First, before we start talking about the film, I want to talk a bit about you as a filmmaker. So, like, you're a student filmmaker right now. You told me previously that you took a gap here to basically, I guess, learn more about yourself as a filmmaker, but also to volunteer here at the festival. So Junhyung works in the international press section for the festival. So talk to me first about becoming a filmmaker. Did you always want to be a filmmaker? Were you like some people that I've met before who had a previous career or wanted to be something else and then decided, nah, I'm gonna go and become a filmmaker instead?
Yeah, I mean, I was not born as a filmmaker, so I decided to be a filmmaker at some point.
Yeah.
And for me, it was, I think it was when I was in middle school.
Okay.
My father really loved the films, and I think there's something in my family, in my father's family, because my grandfather run a movie theater in Mokpo, which is quite close with Jeonju here. It's Jeonnam province, and he ran a movie theater like 40 to 50 years ago. But the theater was closed, and the whole family has to move to Seoul. So I think that's the reason why my father loved films, because he had good memories with the films. And I can recall my father sitting in my on couch and watching TV every weekend, and still he knows better than I. So I think it's really affected me. And as I told you, when I was in middle school, I was a really sensitive kid and insecure. And I was like healed by films a lot, and it helped me through that period. So I fell in love with movies, and I wanted to make films, but I've never tried to go to the film major university. When I was in high school, I just decided to go sociology department. So I majored in cultural anthropology in my bachelor's degree, and when I was about to graduate, at that time, my fourth grade, I need to decide that I keep writing my scenarios by myself or go to have a higher education for filmmaking. So I decided the latter, and now I'm here.
So I always find it interesting. This is one of the reasons I love asking filmmakers about got them into being a filmmaker. So like you said, you went to school basically and you started doing sociology and cultural anthropology, and that always makes sense to me because those kind of skills and those kind of educational backgrounds play a lot to me in filmmaking, because so much of filmmaking is understanding human behavior and human history and why we do the things we do. So like sociology isn't psychology, so you're not psychoanalyzing the characters, but you're still learning about understanding human interaction and human behavior and like cultural differences. And even within a country, like coming from, like for instance, your family's from Mokpo, like that cultural experience in Mokpo is completely different to the cultural experiences in Seoul, right? So that always plays a part in filmmaking. So when you decided to pursue filmmaking, having that background, did it make it easier for you to finally decide to do it? Because you're like, you know what, I kind of do understand humans anyway, so it's easier to write stories about humans.
Can you repeat the last part?
So like having that background, did it make it easier for you to make that decision because you said, you know what, I already have I know the knowledge of human behavior, and I have that educational background.
Well, I think it didn't make it easier for filmmaking, but it certainly made me to have a different perspective, because cultural anthropology is slightly different with sociology. What I think is sociology is focused on the society first, and then it goes to the people inside.
Right.
But cultural anthropology starts from the people, and it goes up to the society. And that kind of perspective affected me making film, so that I can start on the people, not on the society or the classes. I always start with the people and the really micro relationship. So it affected me in that way.
And you said you were shy in school, and you said you're a bit more insecure. Is that what prompted you to actually look into doing sociology and cultural anthropology? Because is that a way for you to understand other people when you even though you were more introverted and shy yourself?
Maybe. Yeah, I was really a shy kid, and I'm still. Cultural anthropology. Yeah, maybe. Yeah. I've never think it that way, but it can be because. Since I'm really sensitive with the relationship within the families and the friends when I was young, I started to have a curiosity of what's the meaning of the net relationship?
Right.
What does it mean we live together? I started to think that's because I was really fragile at some point, and yeah, as I said, it really affected me to more into the cultural anthropology. Yes.
Right. Yeah, because people always think I'm joking when I say I'm actually a very shy person. When I was seriously, when I was younger, I was very introverted. I would my sister. I have a twin sister, and she's way more outgoing than me. When we were in primary school, because we went to primary school together, she'd be the one running around on the playing field, having a blast with her classmates and stuff. But I'd be usually in my classroom reading a book, or I'd just be sitting in one particular area, not being isolated. But I like watching people. I've always liked watching people. My mom would say I would always stare at people even when I was a baby or a toddler. So for me, film. I always loved film because that's almost like a family tradition in my family. We all your family watch movies on the weekend. We did the same thing in my family. And I always loved watching film because it helped me to learn about other places, but also see different types of relationships and different types of people outside.
Yes.
And so to me, film is a way to relate to people while still being a bit introverted at the same time. I get to see all of these different places and all these different people while sitting at home. Or even in the theater, you're just sitting by yourself in the theater seat, even though you're surrounded by people, so you get to have that outside view without kind of making yourself uncomfortable.
Maybe we are just we are afraid of meeting people in real world, so we have to step back, and we need a barrier, which is a film.
Yeah, doing this job, it's actually helped me to become more extroverted than I was before. I call myself an introverted extrovert.
Introverted extrovert, okay.
Yeah, so doing this work has helped me to really interact with people, but also learning why people do what they do is one of the reasons I love doing interviews. And I think in watching your film, The Sucker Punch, I got the impression that you're the same way, that you like watching people and figuring out why people do what they do. Because very much of this film in particular is about observing the cues that the different characters give off, reading their body language, the little things they say and the things they don't say. There's actually a lot of context in the silences and the dialogue and the things that you can tell the wheels are spinning in their heads, in particular with the lead character, Do-yeon. They don't really say much, but a lot of what they're not saying telegraphs to me. I think that the performer did an amazing job. So first, so you're talking about Sucker Punch. Talk to me about that film and coming up with a concept because
Mhm.
it's a game, but playing games is a really good way to figure out how people think and
Right.
take what motivates them.
Well, I have to tell you that it was basically a workshop project, and so there was a original screenplay,
Right.
which is about like three guys who is university students are like fighting, get jealous each other. They get jealous each other, and the one dude wants to punch him with a boxing glove so bad. That's the concept of the script, and I had to revise it,
Okay.
readapt it in my way. So that's the goal of the project. So I have to come up with a like different situation, and as you said, like playing game is really good environment to reveal the people. So I choose the board game club as a background,
Right.
and then I don't like that there are only guys on the screen.
Right.
So I have to like mix up the gender. And I started to mix up gender. I started maybe it could be more interesting if I put not heterosexual relationship. So it developed in that way.
Right.
And
So
yes.
sorry for Doyeon is non-binary, right? I got the impression that they're non-binary
Well,
or queer at least.
I talked with the actor a lot about this, Doyeon's actor, which Im Hedy actor, and she had her answer, but we didn't like make exact answer, but she had an answer by herself.
Okay, so also the way that like the way she dresses and the way she kind of interprets Doyeon and the way Doyeon presents on screen is like basically how she wanted to do it.
Yes.
Oh, that's interesting.
She prepared her clothes. Of course, I confirmed it, but it's her own clothes, and I really like the way she think of the character in her own way. Because basically I'm a male director, so there might be some points that I miss to describe the female character, non-binary character. Yes.
Okay, yeah. So you like mentioned like making the characters like different genders, and I guess you would say different sexualities and different sexual identities. And I thought it was interesting because it, as I said, like it leaves like so much of the context of the film is in the things they see and they do. And so I think like using mahjong in particular, I thought it was an interesting game choice because I'm not like a professional mahjong player, and the only version of mahjong I play is on my phone where you match with the tiles. So it's like not the complex version that
They
they're playing
calculate
on
the
people.
score by computer.
Right.
Yeah.
So I played on my phone, so it's like the match matches the blocks, the tiles together. But I thought it was interesting because it is about matching. It's about couples. So it's like who's the right match for you out of these four people. So there's like Doyeon, there's Sian, who is clearly Doyeon's love interest, romantic interest. There's Hyunwoo, who Sian clearly fancies, and then there's Hani, who's kind of like not really at the beginning anyway, doesn't seem interested in anyone. She's just there for fun. So I thought mahjong was an interesting choice because it's all about matching up and pairing and like who scores the most points. So when you were like writing the script, how did you decide how the game itself would go? Because the game itself dictates how the characters react to each other. How the game goes, like how they play, like who's gonna win a hand, and then like when you were writing the script, how did you decide like how the game itself would play out? Because the way it plays out ties into the way they react to each other.
I had a certain thought back then. I needed some like clear points that which can make Doyeon angry or happy. So the game has to follow the emotion of the character together, right? So she definitely has to lose at last point because she have to because she need to have a desire to punch him with a toy hammer. So she had to lose at some point. But I think there is no point she never actually wins in the film. Yeah, which makes her more desperate.
Yeah, because she's trying to score points with Sion, because not only she's trying to impress Sion by playing the game, right? So she's like, if I can win this game, I can impress Sion, and so she's kind of like, it's like ensemble cast, but she's kind of like the main character because she's the one that drives all of the conversation. She's the one that drives the game, and so there's her, and then there's Hyunwoo, who's he annoyed me. And the reason he annoyed me because he's arrogant, and he gets told that, like, even Skiana admits that he's arrogant, but he's not just arrogant, he's very sly with it. He would say things to belittle Doyoung. It seems innocent, but if you get the context, you realize, oh, you're being actually very passive aggressive right now. You're being very insulting. And that's like the game between the two of them. They're both trying to impress Sion and that thing. So because the game is about ultimately like Doyoung losing and having to punch Hyunwoo, and in punching, like using the plastic hammer, I thought like she was actually delivering her blows more with her dialogue and the things she would say. So talk to me about developing those two characters, because they both have the same goal, which is to impress Sion, but they're going about it in very different ways.
Doyeon and Hyunwoo is 100% came from me. Everybody have a like bipolar characters in them, and I sometimes can be really arrogant, and I can sometimes be really insecure. So I split into two characters. And the fun thing is, at the beginning, I was gonna act Hyunwoo.
You were gonna think I know yourself.
Yeah, I gonna play Hyunwoo. But the producer, which is my friend in school, didn't want me to do it because it was my first film in the grade school, and he didn't want to put too much burden on me. He wanted me to focus on the directing, so I didn't actually play the Hyunwoo, but it came from me. So, but I think it's not that arrogant because it is a gentleman.
The thing is, like, I think for me as a woman, I saw him as arrogant because he's actually not the type of person who would impress me. I would, if I was sitting at a game with him, I would look at him and say, "You are being a jerk right now." Right? Because like everything, like when Doyeon was trying to say something, he contradicted Doyeon.
Yeah.
Right? And he tried to one up Doyeon.
He does not provoke herself.
It's the game of life.
Yeah.
It's in the game of life.
Yeah.
But then the game, like playing the game, you can trash talk people. But he wasn't just only trash talking with regards to the game. He was making it personal, right? So that's where I was just like, you're not impressive to me.
I understand that. And for Doyeon, which was really hard to direct her acting, even though she was a really good actor, we knew she has to be a kind of a nerd at some point. Her shirts and all the things has to look like a little nerdy at some point. But I and the actor Hattie Doyeon didn't want the audience to make fun of her, or maybe didn't want the audience to think they're mocking Doyeon. We didn't want that, but it has to be a nerd. So that balance is really hard to find. So we take many takes for the very first shot because we have to decide how much nerdy she could be. Yeah.
And you're talking about the very first shot. The film starts off very interestingly with Hani talking about a family that was killed, including their cat. And I wanted to ask, like, why start the film that way? Like, you know, the film doesn't start with them talking about the game or anything. It starts talking about a murder. You know, like you're like saying, it's like a hard, because the film starts with black and you're just seeing the audio. It almost sets it up as like almost like a ghost story kind of thing. You know, like where you're at an event, like at a camping or whatever, and like, they're telling ghost stories, and you start the film in that way, and then it kind of made me think, oh well, you know, you do like talk almost any kind of random thing at a game. But what I want to ask you about that particular choice of they talking about like a family. What was it? The mother got beheaded,
Yeah.
and the cat died.
The daughter got
The daughter got beheaded, and the cat died. I was like, okay, dark.
Yeah. My intention was to begin the film at the middle of the conversation, so that they have to think only with the context, to not have a exact information. That's the intention, and the topic of the conversation is decided to what you can say. I have to tell you that in Korea the society is really identical. We're basically really similar, but I think Koreans can be divided into two categories of people who believes in ghosts and who do not believe in ghosts. The opinion that they, whether believe or not, the ghost can reveal the character in not direct way. So I wanted the conversation is about the ghosts and the souls and the poltergeist. And I think Hyunwoo says never believe in ghosts, and Doyeon is more ambiguous. And she has a line that, oh, you cannot like just judge them so easily. That's her like, I think that's really important line, because she eventually at the end figure out that she was the one who judges all the time.
Right.
Yeah, that's so. I wanted to build the character at the beginning, so that's the reason I choose that topic.
Yeah, and it was an interesting choice because it does, to me, it sets up also the tension in the film. Like this film, I think you did a fantastic job setting up the tension in the film, and the tension really comes with the characters like really mistrusting each other. Like there is a really deep sense of mistrust especially between Doyeon and Yeonu. But then I think also the tension is also between Doyeon and Sian, and then Sian and Yeonu. So it's like this triangle of tension, and the film could almost be it has almost just a slight tinge of psychological thriller aspect to it because of the way it's shot. So like there's some scenes where like the background behind them is white, where the scenes are lighter. The tone of the scenes feel lighter and more comical and like fun. But then there are scenes where like the darkness is behind them, and it feels almost like you filmed in two separate spaces, but you didn't. It's one location. So I wanted to, and so it'd be setting up the film with the horror story, and then like realize then you're transitioning to showing they're playing a game of mahjong. I think that that's where again the film does talk a lot about opposites, like you said, contradictions. Like there's the shy and the arrogant. There's the male and female, serious and comical, dark and light. So I want I want us in talking about that, in building up the contrast, like the film being a game about contrasts and opposites, and in setting up the location, because I thought having like two different color backgrounds but within the same space was an interesting visual choice.
Yes. Since we have a really small production money, so we have to tie our belt, which is Korean phrase.
Tighten up the budget, the belt. We said the same thing, Barbara. You say tighten up the belt, when you say tighten the budget. Yeah.
So we do not have that much money to set up all the sets and the art to put arts on the back. We couldn't do it, so we have to find a real place. And at the first time, the scenario said it's a board game club, so I thought it has to be an indoor place.
Right.
But so I searched my campus. It's shot on my campus. So I just searching around all around my campus, and I started to think, why it has to be indoor? Just people do not like notice even if it's like an aisle or a rest place. Even it could be a toilet. People wouldn't know that. And so I decided the aisle side, and the actual location was the place students play ping pong.
Okay.
There was a ping pong table there. And I thought, well, okay, it could be a good place because it has a big window on back, so you can contrast. And on the Doyeon side, there's a deep, dark aisle on her back, so it could be a good contrast.
Yeah, it is, because like with Doyeon and then eventually Sion having the dark spaces behind them, that's where a lot of that's where you kind of sense that Doyeon's jealousy is hiding, is in like, that's because we associate jealousy and those kind of dark feelings with spatial darkness, right? So it's almost like, again, if it was a horror film, there'd be like some ghost hanging up behind him,
right?
You know, I'm trying to think of a film. Oh my gosh, it's
It's a horror film.
It's a horror film, and it's not Parchanuk. Is it Parchanuk? No, it's no, Bong Joon-ho. It's another one. It's I did an episode about this, but it's set in the country and it's basically referencing the Japanese occupation of Korea, but from the perspective of women. And the reason I'm mentioning that is because like there's ghosts in the film, but you don't realize there's ghosts. It has to do with like a dog, a barking dog, and like this black dog. And I digress. But I'm gonna remember, but I don't need to.
Okay.
But the film kind of gave me that sense where like there's ghosts hanging out, these dark specters, but they're not visual. You don't see them, but you feel them, right? So like Doyeon having that darkness behind her kind of gave me that sense, and it was just like, I'm like, you have some dark stuff to wear, which is why, again, you having her say she believes in ghosts or the possibility of ghosts was interesting because that sets her how she presents visually. Whereas for Hyunwoo, because he's so matter of fact, he's so cut and dry, which is what Doyeon says, his background is plain white, you know, like that's how he presents himself. Whereas Sion, she sits in the space between both of them. You know, like her background is it too light or too dark. And so I want to talk about her in her because I mentioned Hyunwoo contradicts Doyeon a lot, but so does Sion. And she starts out doing that. Like, you know, she talks, Doyeon says, oh, you had a cat. And she's like, no, I didn't. And he's like, yeah, you did. You showed me a picture. She's like, what are you talking about? She's like, oh, wait, it was a foster. And I literally put my notes, I'm like, fostering a cat doesn't mean you never had a cat. I'm like, you had the cat. Like, it was there. And so she makes Doyeon, in a sense, doubt herself and then have the other two doubt Doyeon. So talk to me about Sion because I was like, you're being mean right now. Like, why are you making people think?
Yeah.
Why are you making Doyeon doubt herself? Like, you know you had a cat. Like, you did.
In that line, I thought she really forgot that she fostered a cat.
I thought so too because I have bad memory, but she does it more than once.
Yeah.
You know, where like Doyeon would say something and then she'd be like, oh, like kind of like doubting Doyeon or making Doyeon doubt herself or making the others doubt herself. I was like, at first I was like, okay, maybe she honestly did forget she had a cat, but then she does it more than once.
Yeah.
So talk to me about Sion because she's an interesting character because I was like, why is Doyeon interested in her again? Because
Oh yeah, I mean, at first I thought Xian is a really like generous and kind person, so that the audience know the reason why Doyeon has a crush on her. That's the character I thought, but after I started the shooting, I figured out, wow, she is kind of mean.
she is.
Yeah, she is mean. So I didn't know that she has to be mean, but at the end I knew that she has to be mean.
She has to be, and it's not in a obviously mean way. Like I said, like I think you did a really good job of this filming, like making the context between the things they say really stand out, and her meanness doesn't really come in the things she says.
Yeah.
It's in the way, it's in what she doesn't say and how she doesn't say the things she doesn't say.
But I think she's mean because it's not herself. It's because Doyeon has a like romantic emotion toward her, but Xian has not. That's the reason why it makes her mean. Because in every romantic relationship, the person who do not love as much as the other person always can be mean.
Yeah.
That's the meanness amount she has.
Yeah.
That amount.
Because she knows that Doyeon likes her.
Yeah.
And she kind of ignores, and she talks, and she's clearly flirting with Hyunwoo in front of Doyeon. And I'm like, you know that Doyeon likes you. Like, why are you flirting with? And then we find out the plot twist. But we're not gonna really talk about the plot twist yet. I thought that plot twist was interesting.
Yeah.
But what inspires Sion for you as a character? So you said Doyeon comes from you. So who inspires Sion?
I think it's every partners I had a crush on, who is looks seems really like kind, generous, pretty, but once you started to achieve the person's like mind, it starts to think about, wait, is she a really good person that I thought? So I think that's I objectify my images towards Xian.
Yeah, because like for a lot, especially when we're younger, a lot of us usually have crushes on the worst kind of people.
Yeah.
And there's not like you would, and they're not people who are obviously bad, but like but you look back in hindsight and say, this person wasn't very nice to me. You know, you look back and you say, but why did I like this person? Like they weren't nice to me. They weren't nice to other people. Even though they'd be like, usually it'd be like someone who's popular. Like Xian is clearly popular. You know, she's a singer. She's performed. I think it was in Hong Kong, and like that makes her an interesting character.
But I want to say that you can say, oh, back then I thought he was a good guy, but he wasn't that I thought. Is my judgment. I'm judging it at this point. He is just the person, the regular person there. It's not either bad or good. It's just a person that I think, oh, he's a really good guy at some point, and he thinks he wasn't a good guy. So it's all about me. And Doyeon is too into herself. So I want to emphasize that.
No, I understand. It's like we put them on a pedestal when they haven't really done anything to be up there, but it's just like we're so in like with them that we say, oh my god, this person is like the most amazing thing. Whereas other people around them are like, but they're really not. They're just like a regular person. Like Honey is like that. Honey is like, she's interacting with all of them equally. You know, she's just she doesn't see one person as being better than the other. You know, she sees Hyunwoo as interesting, but she doesn't look at Hyunwoo the same way that Sion looks at him. You know, like for instance, like she calls him Oppa, but she only let it slip out because she was just like doing it casually. And Sion looked at her in that moment, and she was like, you could see the jealousy in her eyes, and she was like, "You tried to encroach on my crush? How dare you?" You know. So I thought Honey was an interesting character. Honey says things, she's not flirting, but Sion took it as her flirting with Hyunwoo. And then we realized at the end, like Sion has no business being jealous anyway because he has a girlfriend. Like you, like.
Yeah.
And I thought that was like, I was just like, aha. So everybody's wrong.
Everybody's wrong.
Everyone is wrong except for Honey. Honey's just innocent. She's just there to have fun. So I thought that was interesting. And then at the end, once Doyeon gets to deliver her punch, she gets to deliver her punch. I thought the tone of the film flipped completely. That's where the tension that was there before disappears. Because to me, and it was like almost like because Doyeon got to get her her own attention and how she was feeling
Yeah.
against Keanu. She got to knock him and she's like, okay, I'm over it. I've moved on. But then the tension doesn't come from her anymore. The tension switches to come from Sion.
Uh-huh.
And then like Sion's motivation starts to change.
Yeah.
So I'm talking about having that moment like, oh, we're getting the 10-minute mark.
Oh, really?
10분 남았습니다.
네. So after the punch, like the tone shifts completely, and it's almost like Joyeon stops being the protagonist, and Sion then becomes the protagonist.
Yeah.
Was that intentional, or was that something that just developed during like filming, perhaps, or close to during production?
I mean, I've never thought Xian takes the role of protagonist after the punch. But what my intention was just make Doyeon completely like devastated in her own word, which makes her more nerdy.
Yeah.
Because it's just a game, but she was so desperate, and the game goes on. That's what I wanted to like express at that point. So for the last sequence, Doyeon almost has no lines, and she has to be on a complete background of the stage. So I think that's the reason why I thought Xian takes the protagonist role at that point.
Yeah, because I kind of saw it as like if the film was to go on past the ending, and we see Doyeon no longer being enamored with Sion, but we start to see Sion being enamored with Doyeon. Like they switch places, and I thought it was like, well, I was like, oh, she's jealous now, so she realizes that because the others know that Hyunwoo is taken, she can't flirt with him anymore. She was getting away with it before because they didn't know until he revealed, oh yeah, I'm dating her sister. And she was like, wow, crap. Now they know that if I keep flirting with him, it's gonna look very bad on me. So she switched her attentions to Doyeon, and it was just like, I was like, I'm like, she's so trivial. She's so trivial.
Wait, what?
That's how I read it. That's kind of how I read it, you know.
Hyunwoo is dating Xian's sister.
Yeah.
And what you said?
And so because the others know, so like for instance, because Doyeon knows now that he's dating her sister, they would look at her and say, "But why are you flirting with the man that's dating your sister?" And I kind of saw her as realizing I can't keep flirting with him anymore because now they know. And the way they're looking at me is gonna change. So she asked, because the ending of the film changes to her actually initiating a conversation with Doyeon, which she wasn't doing before. Before it was Doyeon initiating the conversations and making comments to her, and she was responding. But at the end, she's the one who starts the conversation, and Doyeon is responding. So it was just like, oh, well, the shoe's on the other foot now, as we say. Like, she's not the one showing interest in Doyeon.
That's really interesting point of view. Really. Because I didn't thought it that way.
Okay. So for you, how was that? So how was that interaction at the end between the two of them?
I thought that people finally knew Xian was not that bad person. Doyeon's like strong desire to make her to look like she's mean, but at the end we just knew that she has no intention to everybody.
Really? I looked at it completely differently. This is why I love film, right? So I was like,
And Xian looks like she's taking care of everybody in the club because she brought the new guest. But I thought actually she doesn't care about people at all. Maybe.
That she has no interest, not even in Hyunwoo?
No.
What? She was flirting with him the entire time. She was flirting with him the entire time.
Oh,
She was
then it might be a cultural difference because the young students in Korea like girls and boys just hanging around even if they're not dating.
No, I don't. No, not that they're hanging around. It was just in the things that she said. You know, like it's the way she was smiling at Hyunwoo was different. You know, like she was like when he was talking about like her like her performing, and like she was responding to him in a completely different way. She was responding to Hani or to Doyoung. She was giving me that she was interested in Hyunwoo. That's what I was getting.
Yeah.
That she was romantically interested in him. And then once that reveal happened, her interest started to shift slightly, and then she started to pay more attention to Doyoung right at the end.
Yeah, it can be read that way.
Yeah.
And then I really love this kind of interpretation because that's the goal I wanted to achieve through this film. I wanted to make film that's what I said to the students on the project, that I want to make a film only the half of the audience gets it. You know? And the professor said, what? No, you have to decide it. You have to decide to whether people understand this movie or not. That's what he said. But I want to make 50. That's the amount, the percent I want.
Why though?
Because that's what it happens all the time in our like daily life. When you're sitting on a cafe, you can hear people talking on next to you when we don't know what's going on exactly, and so we have to rematch our impressions, and we have our own thoughts on it. And if after they're gone, when you talk with your friends about it, wow, I think that these things happen on that table, and I was like, what? I thought it's completely different. What he has like no romantic intention to her, but my friends can think, no, they're totally a couple in that way, you know?
Yeah, but and that's like as you were saying, that's like there's a saying, there's three sides to every story: your truth, my truth, and the real truth.
Yeah,
right? It's all about perception and how we view things.
But will they reveal word truth there?
Yeah, because like there would be the objective observer, right? Like for us, the audience watching the film, we're the objective observer getting to see everyone from an outside perspective. But while they're in it, they're seeing it only from their own personal perspectives, right? So that's why we'd be like your truth, my truth, and then the objective truth, the complete truth. But truth is it's all about perception, right? That's how reality is. Like using the cat as an example, right? Like anyone walking into the story, like as you said at the beginning, halfway through, you'd wonder, is Doyoung imagining things? And unless Seon didn't clear it up, you doubt that the cat existed. You know, kind of like they'll use, and then again use the analogy of ghosts. Like, do ghosts really exist? There's people who believe they do. There's people who don't believe they do. But using it again, a ghost could be standing right there, so, but I do exist, right?
Yeah.
You know, and like it made me think of Schrodinger's cat. Schrodinger's cat is a ghost.
Yeah.
So that's like, so when you use the analogy of the cat in the beginning, that's what made me think like the whole film is kind of like that, like
quantum physics.
Yeah, right. I'm like, is the cat really there? Is the feelings of like between all these characters really there? Or is that just what we the audience is perceiving?
It's really great interpretation, because in the world of quantum physics, the existence of the observer changes the result. So as you said, the audiences can like change the result. It makes me chill.
Yeah, no, and that's one of the reasons I do love talking with filmmakers, because I'm always like curious. I'm like, and I always use this analogy. I'm like, is the cup that's there in the scene really there for a purpose, or is it just a cup that the characters have? Does this cup mean something else? You know,
How do you say that?
That's what I always say. I'm like, is a cup just a cup, or does a cup have a different meaning?
Alright.
Yeah, so that's kind of my thing. So I was just like, is a cat really just a cat, or is it kind of something deeper?
And then how does most of the directors answer to that question? Like,
half of the time a cup is just a cup, and then half of the time the cup's really
so it's half
something.
and half?
Half and half. Just like you were
I think it's
saying.
always half and half.
Yeah. I remember when I interviewed this director once. It was a sci-fi short film, and there was a scene between the two main characters, And so it's a film with just these two characters, but like they were sitting at a table like we're sitting now, and the camera's facing them, and behind them on the wall is like these vases, you know?
Mhm.
And I noticed with each progressive conversation they had, the vases started to drift further and further apart. And I asked him, I'm like, was that intentional, or was it just like maybe the pop masters forgot to replace them or different? He's like, no, that was intentional.
Oh.
And he was, but the producer was with us in the interview, and the producer was like, I thought that was an accident. He was like, no, that was intentional.
Really?
So the producer didn't even know, and she was on set every day. He was like, I told the prop person keep placing them further apart. So I had to ask him, I'm like, am I just imagining this, or is this on purpose?
Or maybe they can say it later that I was intended.
Yeah, but he said he was like, I was hoping someone would notice, and I'm like, well, someone did. So that's me. And I was like, it's like,
Yeah.
okay, thank you so much, Jemia, for talking with me. This was so much fun. Yay.
Yeah, it's really, I had a really fun.
And so for you, well, now that Jeonju's wrapping up, what's next for you? Are you working on any other films, or are you gonna just take a break?
Oh no, I already shoot my short film already, and I'm editing it again, and so I'm sending it to the other festivals around the world. So I really hope that it can be seen to the audience.
Well, I hope I'll probably email you and I'll be like, show me what you've made next.
I guarantee you that I will send every short film I make after this. So I'm really glad.
Yay, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, for sure. This is fun.